All the knowledge in the retirement planning universe is completely useless without execution. So if you've been following the video so far, today we're going to be talking about how to implement and execute the retirement plan if you've built one so far. We've been going through in the past couple of weeks a series of videos that address or explain our financial planning process, which we call navigating the retirement risk zone. In the first set of videos, we described how you actually take a financial assessment and then how you build or construct the set of action items you might use for a financial plan. And in this video, we're going to talk about how you keep organized and actually do the implementation. And this is really probably the most important part of the entire process. So I hope you'll stay tuned and watch the whole thing. In this video, we're going to go through the actual nuts and bolts of how you take a great Monte Carlo probability or a great new cash flow model and actually turn that into reality. So to go back and recap a little bit, we've talked about our peak financial planning system. It's broken into 5 financial planning modules. We've already covered weeks 1 and 2 in module 1 and 2, and this is week 3. Again, if you're not a part of the email sequence and you want to receive the rest of these videos in sequential order with all the tools that are a part of what we're providing as a package for this, all you have to do is go to any form on our website, submit your email address, and you will automatically be entered and receive these videos in chronological format with access to the financial planning tool, the spreadsheets, and everything else we've been showing in this video series. Without further ado, we're going to jump straight into module 3, how you implement the prescription. There's really 3 steps to this. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to show some very tactical stuff in this video to help you understand what tools you can use. If you don't want to hire a financial planner, what you can use on your own to go through this. Again, the goal is to give as much information as possible to allow you to execute as much as you want on your own. Implementation is broken into 3 steps in our process: prioritize, organize, systematize. Prioritization is how you figure out what the most impactful action items are. We talked about that in our last video, where we talk about how you should test one financial planning action at a time in a financial planning tool so you can understand the overall impact of that individual item. In order to prioritize, you have to know what actions get you material results and how to quantify that. For instance, if you knew that Roth conversions, while a useful tool, only get your financial plan a plus 1% Monte Carlo, or they actually hinder your cash flow in the first 5 years of retirement, you would want to know that if, for instance, something like reducing spending by $16 a week could increase your Monte Carlo probability by 10%. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples of this, but the idea here is in order to prioritize, you need to test one action at a time and understand the overall impact on your financial plan, one item at a time. You also need to understand when the action will have the impact. You also need to understand what resources it will require to execute on that action item. So combining those 2 things, it's very material. If something you do today has an impact tomorrow, that's going to be a much more high priority action item than doing something 10 years from now that has an impact 11 years from now, right? It's not to say you shouldn't do that future thing. It's just you don't want to delay or defer decisions you need to make today because you could make a future decision with yourself you could make a future decision in the future. It's a bad trade-off. And then you have to understand what these things are going to cost to execute in terms of time, money, or both. The last thing you need to understand here is whether the action item can be done in a single shot or if it requires steps or phases. An easy example of this would be if you were to do a one-time portfolio rebalance. That's a one-time thing. Get it done, move on. But if you need to do something like a Roth conversion strategy that requires conversions over 10 years, that's something that needs to be done in steps and phases. And you just need to understand, and when you organize, and I'm going to show you the organizational system we use, you need to understand that you just need to bucket these action items into different categories so you don't lose track of things and do something once when it needs to be done every month, and then do something every month when it only needs to be done once, right? We don't want to flip those. We like to use something in-house called the Eisenhower matrix. It's a decision-making framework that allows you to prioritize the action items that you might have on a to-do list. I've done a much longer video, and I'm not going to do that whole video here in this one on my YouTube channel, and you can watch that. It's titled How to Make Better Decisions, and it's using this Eisenhower matrix that we have on the screen. But the basic idea here is that all decisions can be broken into one of 4 categories: urgent and important, not urgent but important, not important but urgent, and not urgent and not important. And if you take a big list of financial planning action items and you've done all the steps before where we talked about in the prioritization phase, where you understand and can quantify the effect of that recommendation, and you understand how much it will cost you and what resources it will require and when it will be required to be done and how long it takes to do, now you can take that whole list and you can split each of those recommendations or action items between the Eisenhower squares. And what you want to do is you want to focus on things that are urgent and important. You want to schedule things that are not urgent but are important. You want to delegate the things that are urgent but not important, which in retirement planning sometimes you can't delegate, but the idea is you want to push that out further. And then you want to delete or get rid of things that are not urgent and not important. Those are the distractions. And so we're going to get a few real life examples here. So let me give you real-time examples. Cash flow tracking, if you've watched the prior videos and you understand how important required portfolio income is to the overall building of your financial plan and then the action items that are generated, you will understand that cash flow tracking is by far the most urgent and the most important action item you can take in your retirement planning. You need to know how much you're spending now and how that influences what you might spend when retired in order to generate your required portfolio income number. That makes it a very urgent and very important action item, and in most cases, that is actually the make or break action item in someone's financial plan. Now you can compare that to something like a portfolio rebalance or maybe regular portfolio rebalancing that is done on a quarterly schedule or an annual schedule, which is important and material, but not urgent. We're not trying to time the market with investment decisions, and therefore it is not urgent to make portfolio changes or portfolio rebalances. It is important. Now, too often we feel a sense of urgency with portfolio changes and we focus on the retirement portfolio, and I'm not telling you to ignore it. I'm just saying we focus on that to the exclusion of cash flow tracking or budgeting or other items that are actually significantly more urgent and important and are going to get us a much higher return if we do them early in life. And you can compare that again to Roth conversions, which are not urgent or important. They are totally a luxury financial planning tool. They are useful, but they are not urgent and they're not important. And in most cases, they're a total luxury item. And again, too often we might put an overdue or an undue amount of priority on the Roth conversion element of a financial plan. Should I do Roth conversions, tax planning, et cetera, when we're not even attending to the base of the priority pyramid, which is the urgent and important action items. The best way to stack and organize this is to use a project management dashboard. Now, in Right Capital, the financial planning tool that we will be providing free of charge for you guys to use as a test tool, and the one we use internally does provide an internal task management system, a project management system. And I'm going to show a couple other tech tools here, but you need a way to now, once you have prioritized your action items, and then once you have labeled them and listed them based on the Eisenhower matrix, stay organized and put things onto a calendar timeline so you know what you're going to attend to early, what you're going to attend to in the middle, and what you're going to attend to later over time. To keep this going, we move from organization, which is a one-time action, to systematizing. Now we need to set up systems for things that are recurring and ongoing. And you can use some tools to set up recurring reminders like Google Calendar or something of that nature. A good financial planning tool is going to have all of this rolled into one, but you can use Google Calendar. You can also use technology tools like Asana, which is a project management dashboard that is not attached to a financial planning tool, but will provide many of the same functions that a good task management system in a financial planning tool will provide. And in many cases, Asana will provide a lot more. You can also use a tool like EveryDollar, Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar, which is a budget tracking tool to keep track and build out your required portfolio income formula and track your expenses ongoing over time in a much simpler, less time-intensive way than doing something like running through credit card statements or QuickBooks. And then you also have documentation, and this is probably the most important part of the systematizing section, which is you need to document your original assessment, which is done in module 1 of this course, and then you need to document the recommendations or action items you're going to take. You need to document their impact on an individual basis so you know this action item is worth this much in additional benefit to me and costs me this much. And then you need to document your organized, prioritized plan of what you're going to attack in what order. Things that are not documented don't get done. And things that are not documented that kind of get done wrong, and they cause problems later. Documenting is the most important part of this. It's how you pull all the threads together. And using a financial planning tool like Right Capital or New Retirement or any of the above or any other items will be the best way to document your financial plan and document the action items so that you don't lose track over time. That is how you do the implementation. I have one parting thought here, which is, and I said this at the beginning of the video, all the knowledge in the retirement planning universe is completely worthless if you don't execute in a logical, methodical fashion. So it's great to have an improved Monte Carlo score in New Retirement or Right Capital, and it's great to see awesome cash flow projections, but they don't mean anything if you don't do the underlying action items that get you to those results. And that is the hard part, right? It's kind of like going to the gym. You don't lose weight just because you decided to go to the gym or just because you decided to go to the gym 3 times. You lose weight and you get strong by having a habit and systematizing going to the gym every day or 5 days a week or 3 days a week, whatever's appropriate for you for the rest of your life. And that is what I'm trying to impart with this module. So hopefully you'll find this video useful as a way to kind of bind all these things together. In next week's video, we're going to go into the next module number 4, which is setting up a feedback loop. Because now that we have a system to organize and implement and a project management dashboard and tasks and a timeline, we need to set up a method of tracking the actions we do and having some kind of key performance indicators that tell us whether the actions we're executing have the results that the financial planning tool tells us they will. And to be fair, in many cases, you will find that the results differ from what the financial planning tool told you it will, not because the tool is lying, but because life is dynamic and things change. And so we need a way to track so that we can then improvise or slightly adjust course in order to interpret or integrate the new data or the dynamic changes of life. So that's next week's video, module number 4, setting up the feedback loop. And then the final week will be how we put the whole system together and manage it long term. I hope you found this video helpful. As I said earlier, if you're not a part of the email chain, you can go to our website, fill in any form on the website, and get immediately added to the email chain, and you'll get all the additional resources that I'm referencing in this video. And you will also be able to watch this video for free on YouTube, if that may be where you're watching. And if you are and you have questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to put them in the comments section below this video. And if you like what you're seeing and you're not interested in doing this yourself, and this is not a sales video, but if you're not interested in doing this whole thing yourself and you just want to have a conversation, you can reach out to us at www.thepeakfp.com and schedule a free consultation there. As always, thank you for your time and attention and your trust, and we'll see you in the next video.